Hello everyone, and welcome back to another R tutorial video. And in this video I want to begin what will be a two-part series talking about legends in tmap. So if you've done any of the videos on choropleth mapping or TM bubble, you'll notice that they came along with legends by default. But if you went through and did the generic TM polygon or TM line, that they didn't come along with a legend. And if you stacked multiple layers on top of each other, right, you would come out without a legend. And you may, for valid reasons, want one. And so in this video, we're going to talk about how we can add legends to tmap and how we can do a little bit of moving around to get the legend kind of where we want it. And then the next video, we'll talk about if you get a pre-made legend from a choropleth map or from TM bubble, how we can start to sort of mess with those. But to start, let's make a very basic legend for one layer and kind of walk through what the parameters are and what you kind of need to be aware of. So we're going to make a map underscore basic legend. Before we do anything else, we want to make sure we load the New Haven data set, project places, and project roads, because we're going to be using blocks, places, and roads in this video. So map basic legend, we're going to set this equal to tm underscore shape. And inside of that, we're going to start with blocks, because I think that's the easiest one to work with. So blocks, and then we're going to add a tm underscore polygons. And just to illustrate that this works, I'm going to color it purple. Right. And then we will map underscore basic legend. So just to sort of prove that I haven't made any mistakes here, this is what we get. We get the outlines of the blocks filled in with this light purple color. Now, what I'm trying to get at in this video is, what if we wanted a legend that specified what these were? And you would do that with another function called tm underscore add legend. tm underscore add legend. And what I want to do is I want to quickly draw your attention to the context pop-up right here. And it has a parameter of type, a parameter of labels, and then you'll see that it has color, size, shape, line width, line type, all those things that we've been familiar with. And the color, shape, line width, line type, those all draw directly in, I shouldn't say they draw and you have to type them, but they're the same sort of parameter that we're used to seeing in the other functions. And the idea would be that as you go through, you're going to set these parameters to match the parameter of the geometry that you're referencing. But the type and label are two that we need to make sure that we sort of touch base on and know what we're doing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do type. Now, type controls the shape of the symbol that will appear in the legend. And what I mean by that is there are four options. There's fill, line, symbol, and title. If you set type equal to fill, which is what we're going to do now, it will use a small box in the legend to represent this particular layer. If you were to use line, it would use a thin line. And if you were to use symbol, then it would use a small point. So we have type equals fill. So this is going to match the geometry because our type, you can think of this as what type of geometry. So we have a polygon geometry, so we're going to use fill. The second parameter that you want to be aware of is labels. And this is going to dictate what it's going to call it in the legend. So in this case, we're going to use blocks because that's what we're representing here. Then you use, again, the color, shape, size. You match those parameters to the function calls. So in this case, we made our color purple. So we're going to set call equal to PUR, PLE, purple. Okay. And then finally, if you choose to, you can add a title, and we're going to call it basic legend. Okay, so we've set everything up. we've matched everything geometry-wise, label-wise, and color-wise to match these the first two things. So if we run this, and then we run that, and we scroll down a little bit, you'll see that we've actually added a basic legend down in the corner with the title basic legend. The symbol is a square because it's polygons, and it's colored purple because we told it the color was purple. And then it pulled in this label here from our label parameter here. So that's a very basic one-layer legend. So let's do something a little bit more realistic, and let's assume that we had, say, 3 layers. Let's say, assume we had the blocks underneath, roads, and then we had the places on top. So this would be a 3-layer map. I'm going to go through how I would not only write the code, but also how I would lay the code out, because we're starting to get a lot more functions and a lot more calls to keep everything organized so that you kind of know where things are, so that you don't make mistakes in terms of calling something on the wrong thing or putting them in the wrong order. This is the way that I personally would lay out my code, in addition to the syntax and stuff like that. So first, we're going to call our bottom layer, which is going to be the blocks. Then the way that I would do this is I would actually go underneath, put a plus sign at the end, and then this allows you to write on multiple lines. And then I would indent in one, and then I would call the tm underscore polygons, call equals, and we'll keep this as purple. I think that's not a good color choice cartographically, but it's a good color choice just to prove that this is working. Okay, the plus sign again, and then I would indent to the same level, and then I would do tm underscore add underscore legend, and then we're going to do the exact same thing we did before, type equals fill, labels equals blocks, and call equals purple. Right, so this is equivalent to what we've already done. Now we want to add our next layer. We'll do tm underscore shape, shape equals, let's do roads next. Again, the plus sign. Now, the way that I'm laying this out, we're doing the shape, then the geometry, then the legend, then the shape, then the geometry, then the legend. This makes sure that everything's ordered, that you don't make a mistake in putting things, having calls be in the wrong place, maybe they're referencing the wrong data. And it also makes it so that when you go back through, it's really easy for you to keep track of what's being called from where. So we're going to add our tm underscore lines. And in this case, I want to make them red. And I want to make the line type, how about 5? It'll make them nice and dashed. And then, the plus sign. And then we will call our tm underscore add legend. And now we're going to do the same sort of thing we did before, but in this case, our type is going to be equal to line instead of fill, because we're dealing with a line geometry. And then our label is going to be roads. And then in this case, we have 2 different parameters we want to change. We want to make the color be red, and we want to make the line type be 5. Again, we're just matching up these parameters to these parameters. That's all we're doing. And then, I always forget the plus sign. You have to have the plus sign, otherwise your code will flip out on you. Then we're going to do one last one, tm shape. We're going to call in the places. This is a point geometry, so tm underscore dots. Let's go ahead and make these be obnoxious, have them be green, have it be larger, so we'll make it, say, size 0.5. And then let's make the shape be, how about 18? So it's not the normal circle. Again, don't forget your plus sign. And then finally, our last tm add, and we're going to once again match everything up. So in this case, type is going to be symbol because we're using points. Our label is going to be places. Our color is going to be green. And then our shape is going to be 18. Now in this case, I'm not going to worry about size because I'm not necessarily concerned with the legend being the same size as the map. And I think the default size for symbols on the legend will be appropriate. But I want to make sure that it matches in color and shape. So assuming that I didn't make a mistake and leave something off, if I run this, we shouldn't get any errors. And I must have left something off. What did I do wrong? Oh, I didn't run the entire line of code. That would be why. So let's go back up here. Let's run that entirety. And it didn't crash. And now let's go ahead and call it in. Map underscore advanced legend. I did make a mistake somewhere. Give me 1 second. Oh, I forgot a plus sign. There we go. See, that's why plus sign's important. Now it should run all of that. And if we do that, and we scroll down, you'll see that what we've done is we've made a legend that has blocks, roads, and places, and you can see that they match in color, shape, and not necessarily size, but color and shape are the two most important. So let's make one last edit to this before we talk about placement, and let's go ahead and add a title. So the way that I would add a title to a legend like this would be in the first legend call. So in the one up here where we did the fill for the polygons, I would add a title parameter, and I would set that equal to some meaningful word. In this case, I'm going to do example legend. This is a terrible legend title, but it gets the point across. And if we rerun everything and we scroll down, you'll see that we now have an example legend title placed there. So hopefully this made sense. I was going to talk about moving the legend around, but I think this is enough for one video. In the next video, we'll talk about moving the legend, and then we'll get into editing an existing legend. So if you have any questions or if anything seems confusing, I would strongly encourage you to go back, rewatch whatever you're confused about. And as always, please reach out. Thank you.